At 4:10 p.m., every frequency monitor across the interconnection reads a steady 60 hertz. By 4:19, the grid has fractured into islands, and 55 million people sit in the dark. 9 minutes, no confirmed cause. The system that powers modern civilization just went silent. But to understand why no one can explain what happened, you first have to understand what was keeping the lights on. Electricity doesn't just appear at a wall socket. It begins its journey hundreds of miles away, at power plants that burn natural gas, split uranium atoms, harness river currents, or capture the sun and wind. In 2023, nuclear plants in the United States operated at an average capacity factor above 92%, while renewables like wind and solar contributed about 21% of total generation. Each source, from a 1,000 megawatt coal unit to a single hillside wind turbine, feeds into a network far larger than any city or state. From these generating stations, electricity is transformed to high voltages, 115,000 to 765,000 volts, so it can travel long distances with minimal loss. Transmission lines strung across continents knit together three main interconnections: the Eastern, the Western, and Texas's ERCOT. These regions are not fully synchronized. Instead, they're bridged by high-voltage direct current links, physical gateways that can move energy between grids, but also isolate failures when needed. At intervals along these corridors, substations serve as the grid's vital organs. Step-up transformers boost voltage for cross-country travel. Step-down transformers reduce it for regional delivery. Substations are also where a single point of failure, a blown transformer or a misconfigured relay, can ripple out for hundreds of miles. Beyond the transmission backbone, the grid branches into thousands of distribution networks. Here, voltages drop to familiar levels: 13,800 volts on a neighborhood feeder, 240 volts at a home's main panel. Every light, screen, and machine draws from this final layer, but the entire system, from the largest generator to the smallest plug, is linked by a web of hardware and control logic. The grid's architecture is both vast and fragile, built for efficiency, but always one fault away from imbalance. Every second, thousands of machines across the continent spin in concert, holding the grid's frequency as close to 60 hertz as physics allows. This number is more than a technicality. It's the heartbeat of the entire system. If generation and demand drift even a fraction apart, the frequency wobbles. A shift of just 0.02 hertz can trigger alarms in control centers from Houston to Toronto. The first defense is inertia. Heavy steel rotors in coal, gas, and nuclear plants act like flywheels, resisting sudden changes. When a generator trips or a load spikes, that spinning mass buys a few precious seconds, slowing the frequency's fall. But inertia alone is not enough. Within half a second, mechanical governors kick in. These devices sense the frequency dip and nudge open turbine valves, pushing more power onto the grid. In North America, NERC standards require that this primary response starts within the first 5 seconds, fast enough to arrest most disturbances before they spiral. Automatic generation control, called AGC, takes over. Next, it watches the grid's frequency and dispatches minute corrections, sending digital commands to ramp up or down dozens of plants at once. Operators watch these corrections unfold in real time on phaser measurement unit dashboards, where every decimal counts. A sudden 0.05 hertz drop flashes red, signaling that reserves are being tapped and margins are shrinking. An asset manager once described the grid's frequency as a pulse you can feel through the control room floor. If it skips a beat, everyone notices, he said. The swing equation linking the grid's stored energy to its frequency governs every move. Inertia, governors, AGC, and operator vigilance keep the system steady, but the balance is delicate. The smallest misstep can set off a chain reaction, making those tiny frequency shifts matter more than most people ever realize. Alarms begin to stack in the control room, each one demanding attention. At 0.2 seconds, a protective relay fires, clearing a breaker just before the line would have breached its thermal limit. The system reroutes power instantly, but the new path is already running close to maximum. On the dispatcher's screen, the energy management system lights up with a flood of alerts: overload, frequency deviation, voltage dip, each tagged with a timestamp, each more urgent than the last. A dispatcher's voice cuts through the static. Breaker 17 open. Confirm loss of load. Another alarm chimes before the sentence is finished. Within seconds, the grid's protective logic is working at full speed, tripping circuits and shifting flows. Every relay, every switch is governed by a precise timing diagram. Some clear in under a quarter second. Others wait for a backup signal before acting. But as the sequence accelerates, small delays begin to stack. A relay that should have waited 0.5 seconds trips early, sending power surging down lines that cannot handle the load. The automatic generation control dashboard struggles to keep up, its set points jumping in real time as the system tries to rebalance. Operators watch as frequency sags by 0.03 hertz, then 0.05 hertz. Phaser measurement units flash red, showing oscillations rippling out from the epicenter. Each second, more alarms pour in, some from substations hundreds of miles apart. The dispatcher's tone sharpens. We are at risk of losing the corridor. Prepare for islanding. In the first 10 minutes, the pace leaves no room for error. Protective schemes designed to isolate faults now threaten to fragment the grid itself. Split-second decisions, whether to hold a breaker closed or let it trip, carry consequences for millions. Every action is logged, every hesitation magnified. The clock ticks forward, and the system edges closer to a break it may not recover from. On the dispatcher's console, the phase angle display surges past 80 degrees, a threshold no one ever wants to see. In power systems, this is not just a number. It is the edge of synchronism, the point where vast regions of the grid lose their ability to pull each other back into line. On the load flow graphs, lines that once ran parallel now splay apart, the divergence accelerating with each failed attempt at correction. Power swings violently between zones, searching for a path that no longer exists. Relays, devices meant to protect the system, begin to misfire. One backup trips out of sequence, its timer confused by a flood of contradictory signals. Another, set to wait for confirmation, reacts a split second too late. The result is not a graceful separation, but a violent tear. Transmission corridors that once carried thousands of megawatts are abruptly severed. Substations drop offline in clusters, carving the grid into isolated islands. Inside each new island, frequency and voltage lurch. Some areas, now cut off from generation, plunge toward blackout in seconds. Others, suddenly burdened with excess power, watch as their frequency spikes, protective relays scrambling to shed load. For operators, the screens fracture. One map for each island, each with its own alarms, its own desperate need for balance. The log records the moment, 1:38 p.m., phase angle exceeded. A final entry from the lead dispatcher reads, "System integrity lost, islands forming, initiating local control." In that instant, the North American grid is no longer one machine. It is a broken mosaic, each piece fighting to survive on its own. The silence that follows is not just the absence of power, but the end of a synchrony that held for decades. Transformers are the grid's heaviest lifelines, and also its slowest to heal. Inside each steel tank, layers of copper windings and oil insulation age in silence, their health monitored by dissolved gas analysis. DGA, looking for early signs of trouble. A spike in acetylene or methane, sometimes months before failure, warns of partial discharge deep in the insulation. When these warnings go unheeded, the risk grows. Utilities track these signals, but budgets and business pressures often dictate how long a unit stays in service. In Texas, the 2021 freeze revealed how stretched maintenance cycles and deferred replacements can leave entire regions exposed. Asset managers know the numbers. Insulation breakdowns flagged by DGA can precede catastrophic failures by half a year. Yet ordering a new 345 kilovolt transformer can take up to 18 months. Even if you have the money, you can't buy time, one asset manager admitted after the Texas crisis. Spare units are rare, and when the lead time stretches into the next year, darkness lingers far longer than anyone plans. Invisible threats move just as quickly as physical faults. In 2015, a cyber attack on Ukraine's grid began with a single email. Malware slipped past defenses, giving attackers remote access to operator consoles. Within minutes, they triggered breaker openings in real time, locking out the control room and plunging 225,000 homes into darkness. The attack chain moved from spear phishing to hijacked credentials, then to direct command injection. An Idaho National Laboratory case study later traced the breach through every layer, exposing how digital trust can be weaponized. But not all threats come from code. On March 13, 1989, Hydro-Quebec's network was hit by a geomagnetic storm. Solar winds drove geomagnetically induced currents, known as GICS, through 735 kilovolt lines. Monitors recorded saturation at 200 amperes, pushing transformers past their safe limits. The blackout spread in less than 2 minutes. Since then, utilities have installed GIC monitors and neutral blocking devices, but space weather remains a wild card. A cyber lead put it this way: you can patch software, you can't patch the sun. Grid operators now watch for both silent code and silent storms, converging on the same fragile system. Every second, the grid's balance hangs by a thread, vulnerable to faults, cyber threats, even the sun itself. As our lives mesh deeper with electricity, resilience is not optional. It is urgent. The next silence will not announce itself. It will arrive, uninvited, in the dark. What would you do first?